but it's starting to take shape. I now have somewhere that is fully dry. If it does rain for an evening and I have a bit of work to do, a bit of painting to do inside it, I'm secure from the elements. I'm happy days. It's so close to being finished. Okay, it's a new day. As you can probably hear, the sound of rain on the roof. I've missed that sound, but it is pouring down. It has poured down all morning. It is to pour down all day. And today was supposed to be electrics day. And I'm not overly keen on wiring up electrics in the rain. However, I've been out all morning trying to get some stuff ready that will kind of make it faster if the rain does ease off. So I've kind of done everything I can do without actually just starting to run wires now. So that involves screwing off these panels. So we'll take this one off first and this one, and then we'll see what's behind it, see what we can do. That's a bit much easier from the other side of it. I need to drill out through this. It's a 19mm bit. Well, no, I don't need to get a wire through it, so 13mm will be fine. Oh, it's going to be fun getting a cable through that. I've also got a face full of sawdust. Okay, so I think there's enough on this spool to do it. This is a heavier grade because it's for sockets. Okay, so start it from the socket. Try and guide it through the conduit until it gets to the far end. So it's through the board here. I'm an idiot. So I have a hole drilled here for the conduit to push into. But obviously the cable's in it now, so I can't get the cable over the top of that. It's not worth the fuss. I'll just cut this little tiny piece out. I'll be fine. Once it's painted black, nobody is going to see it. Still nowhere near, but I want to pass it through just to see exactly how far away we are. In the back of the stud, back of the support. Now hopefully I can go to the other side of this board and reach it. So we're not actually as far away as I thought. I just need to pull myself a bit of slack to do the rain loops and to leave the tails hanging for the actual sockets. Okay, I'll show you what's happening here. So runs through the back, comes out here, and then this is where we're going to have our main socket. So you can see our cables come through here. This is our main supply cable. Obviously it's not wired in yet. So that's the full circuit for the plugs. That's the easy ones. The lights involve a little bit more back and forth because you have to fuse them down. But I'll maybe get the loops in for this first, and then we'll talk about how the light's going to work. Okay, so this might be a better time to explain exactly what this box is. So we have our main supply coming into this socket. From there, we need to take a power supply up into this junction box. I could have gone directly into this fuse spur, but I want to leave it that I can add on to it easily without having to junction later on. So into the junction box in here, which will put a 13 amp fuse on it. From here, we come out through the frame down to this switch. This switch will be a double switch. From the switch, it will go up and control the roof lights. And then the second supply coming out of it, the second switch, will come into this junction box when this is the driver for the LED strip lights. So power supply comes in through here, which voltages it down, and then this will branch out into the LED lights. So I'm going to run all the cables for it for now, try and get the cables up in here and then just leave them coiled up. Again, my lights still aren't here, so we'll get them next week. And then that's everything sort of ready to wire in finally, and I can get my panels back on. So I don't think you guys need to see more running of cables. It's much the same as what I've done. So I'll get that done and then we'll come back for an update if it just stopped raining. Okay, I think the rain has actually beat me today. I've done pretty much everything in here I can do. All my cables are pulled to where they need to go. Conduit's all up as far as I can take it until the lights arrive. I think that's us beat. I'll have a quick tidy up. There's not really much else I can do just in here. I don't want to go out there and start wiring out live electrics. I think that's just stupid. If I was a bit more experienced maybe. So I think quick tidy up, have an early night, prepare myself for tomorrow. It is to be dry tomorrow, so fingers crossed we can actually get everything wired in, and that will hopefully be the electrics finished. Alright, I knew rain was going to be a massive problem at some point, and really if there was ever going to be a point where it had to be a factor, this was probably it. I would like to have got all that wiring up done that day, but it wasn't to be. Now, for some reason, I seem to have lost a couple of video clips, but I tidied up the shack, and the rest of that day I actually went through and wired on the face plates for all those sockets. So it was undercover, I was fine to wire them all in, and I was able to take my time on it and make sure it was all done properly. That then set me up for the next day to go and actually wire it into the mains. Now again, there's no footage of this, but you really don't need to see it to understand what it was. So the basic premise was, we already had an existing outdoor socket attached to the house. So the last time we did the paving, the cable ran from that socket up to where we thought the shack was going to go, which obviously changed plans. So we decided to put another outdoor socket up there in the corner where the seating area was going to be, and then it came from that socket into the shack. So the following day I wired everything in, it's pretty basic, and then we kind of pick up where I'm starting to test the sockets. So I'm just going around with a hand lamp, plugging them in, turning them on, make sure all the sockets are working as expected. So the first one we do is that main socket where the power comes into the shack. Moving into the shack, this is first socket in line, this is where the main power comes into the shack, everything bounces off this. Again, very important socket. Success. Whew. That was a nerve-wracking one. Alright, then we come from this one around to this one. Yes. Perfect. Okay, then the furthest one away is this one up the roof. Won't be used that often. It should still work, which it is. Happy days. So, not that I don't have faith in my wiring. I know I take my time at it. I do it as well as I possibly can. But you never know. You're going to get a broken cable, or those cables under the ground, there could be the slightest little break at one part of it, and then you're just into a world of problems. So it's kind of nice to turn them all on and have them working. Okay, lights. I don't have my battens yet, so I can't test the roof lights, and I haven't built my shelf yet, so my lights that are going under it I can't do. So I have tailed those off, so they're not live yet because I haven't turned the little trip on. But I've taped them up just so that I can turn them on and test the lights that I can mount now, which is the ones, you can probably see them hanging down here. So these are my LED strips. I haven't taken the time to go around and meticulously stick them on yet, because I want to check the work first. I remember the first time I've done something like that, it took hours tidily putting something on, and you flick the switch and it doesn't work. I'm going to flip the little trip on now, double check that that all works. Hopefully these will come on. Well, they're still turned off at the switch over there. Okay, 2 seconds, we'll test that. All right, I've had to get 2 cameras going on this. So these little strips will run around the inner edge. You can see me in this camera. They're just wee LED warm white strips, but I didn't want the ones with a plug on it. These are wired into the actual breakers, so and they're proper outdoor ones. They're rubberized over the top. So by rights, if I flick this switch, these should come on. There's a bit of a delay there. I kind of forgot LEDs tend to do that. Yeah, those look pretty good. So they're going to be kind of hidden from outside. You aren't really going to see the strips at all. They're going to be hidden underneath the edge of the shack. Right, now I can actually take the time and stick them all in. Okay, I'm called down to our Galgorm store, Creative Gardens. We're going to go in and have a look at plants and some furniture and stuff for the build. I need to get ordered up and just get them to deliver it all out. It's so hard to see what exposure's doing here. But if you've never called down, I'll give you a quick show around it. It's definitely a nice centre to call down to, set in the grounds of Galgorm Castle. So I'm going to have a look around it and have a look at some plants. Test the furniture out. It's very comfortable. Okay, I've had a look at plants. Put our order in, furniture, fire pit, a few extra bits and pieces, so they're going to deliver everything out to us once we're ready. So I'll save us doing multiple trips trying to fit everything into the car, because it isn't going to happen. So now we just have to get the whole garden ready for the stuff to arrive. Let's get back at it. Right, we are moving on to one of the exciting bits, probably the most exciting bit of the build. Now is we're going to start getting cabinets and storage and get stuff into the shack. At the minute it's just a shell. As I said in my first shack video, it's just a glorified bus shelter really. But I need to change that. So I do have the framework for the shelf up, and I've got the lights wired into it. I wanted to get it up as quick as possible to get all the lighting done. Still don't have my battens, but that's not the point. So the framework for the shelf here, we'll get it covered in after, but I want to concentrate on the cabinets first because they're the main kind of worktop section area. Most of my stuff will go in them. So the plan is 6 foot set of cabinets here. KJ will sit in this corner. Lift up and down, hopefully. I should probably wheel that over and check it. I'm pretty sure it'll be fine. I will bring it over and check it just to be sure. So this is what we're going to work on now. I want to get cabinets in here. This is, you probably can't see it, can you? I'll overlay some footage of it. This is a toe kick I've made. So this is to obviously level off the ground. We've quite a dramatic fall off from one side of the shack to the other, which you've seen in all the other parts. So this has been put in, leveled off, and that's what we're going to build our cabinets on top of. So they'll be higher at one end than they are at the other, but it doesn't matter. So let's talk cabinets. Initially, that's what this pile of wood was for, and we'll still put that to use, but it's been a slight change of plans. Apparently from some European furniture store idea or something, that I can't remember. Now, eagle eye viewers amongst you might have noticed a little bit of a ding in the corner. That stuff's not very heavy, so it doesn't withstand any kind of dents or anything, but it doesn't matter. It's barbecue. That'll be access area for a mouse to get in. So these are obviously idea cabinets, and rather than building the carcasses myself, which I was going to do, I was quite looking forward to trying it. These are like 35 quid a piece, and whilst they are designed for inside, they're not outdoor cabinets. They're going to be dry. They're up on a toe kick which is made from tannalized timber, so it's fine to sit outside, and that'll keep most of the moisture off them anyway. Yeah, I think they're probably a wise idea. So for what, 105 quid, it would probably cost me more than that to make them out of OSB. So I have other uses planned for that. We have just saved probably a whole night's worth of work, if not longer. So plan one, job one. I want to get them all mounted together. They are sitting nice and level. I'm glad these have kind of lined up now to put them on, but I want to center them on the wall, get them mounted, and then probably screw through and mount them to the back wall as well, and mount them down to that base. Then I know they're sturdy, they aren't going anywhere, they're nice and square, and that's now we're going to start filling them in. I might try and get some doors made tonight. We are getting pretty late. It's 7:30, it's not too bad. But let's get them all mounted, leveled first, then we'll figure out what we're going to do from there. Okay, that's them fixed down as much as I'm gonna fix them down. They're solid as a rock, they're not going anywhere. And once we start getting everything else onto them, they're really not gonna move about much. So I think I'm gonna try and do a couple of cupboard doors, since they're probably the easiest. Get these two done, and we'll see if we can rig the hinges to get them to fit. Obviously, once stuff comes out of idea, it's all nicely pre-drilled, whereas these sheets stuff aren't. So we'll see how to go. What's the worst that could happen? What is the worst that could happen? All right, it's a day later. We have cupboard doors. They worked not too bad. I think trying to hack IKEA hardware, the cabinets are fine. It's the actual hinges themselves. Trying to hack those to fit non-standard doors. Well, they're not doors at all, they're just slabs of wood. Wasn't the easiest in the world, but it is done and they are on there. I'm pretty happy with them. Now they're not all like sanded down and finished yet, and I have to cut handles into them as well, but I just wanted to get them dry fitted on there. But that's kind of making me nervous for this next part, and that is doing drawers in here. So we'll do 3 drawers, so 2 larger, 1 smaller. I have drawer hinges that aren't IKEA hinges, they're not designed to fit these cabinets, they're just for standard carcasses. I think it should be fine, but the first thing to have all my measurements and stuff worked out what I think is going to work. So the first thing is to get everything cut out. So I'm just going to focus on that, get everything cut out first. I'm going to make up the first box just so I know that I'm on the right track, and then we'll try and dry fit them in here just to make sure everything's going to come together. This might turn into another cupboard if this doesn't go well. All right. Okay, eventually got it working. So when I measured across the box, I had measured it exactly at 50, and I thought I was maybe leaving it a little bit tight, so I left it a few mils short, just to try and give it a little bit of space. Turns out those few millimeters made a difference, because they weren't going all the way in, because they weren't engaging the little soft close things at the back of them, and that's because this hinge here was ever so slightly off. So I've shimmed it out with a couple of washers. That seems to have fixed the problem. I wouldn't say they're the smoothest running drawers I've ever seen, but they close all the way in, and that's the main thing. The first one's always the dodgy one, and then after that they tend to get a little bit better. So now I know I'll do it the full width, and that should avoid any shimming issues. They seem to be sitting pretty good flush wise to the front, so I think overall I'm pretty happy with the box. So I'm going to go ahead and make the second one at this size, and then there's a slightly smaller one at the top. Okay, drawers are in. This was the last one to be done, and it is probably the best one of them all. That's always the way of it. The last thing you do, you kind of get better at it as you go up. They'll take a good amount of weight. They're good sturdy drawers, so I can fill them full of wood chunks and stuff. They'll be fine. As I say, I wouldn't put them in my kitchen, but they'll do for a shack. I have to remember this is a shack. It doesn't have to be perfect. And they're much better than what we had in the old shack. They were just wooden friction drawers. They were awful. If I'm ever showing them to anybody, I'll just show them the top one. It'll be fine. But if you can't tell, it's pretty late. I'm going to call it a night. Oh, tidy up my tools. The following day I went into grind mode. I wanted to kind of knock out a couple of hours of good solid work to try and catch up on the project, because we were getting kind of close to that deadline and the rest of the garden really hadn't been touched. Everything was going into the shack at the minute. So I started by getting the faces onto the drawers. Then I went through and cut out the handles on the drawer faces and the cabinet doors. So that was everything sort of finally mounted there. Then I wanted to kind of sheet in the sides so you couldn't really see those white carcasses. So again, we used the same OSB to sheet in both sides. Then we moved on to the countertop. Now I debated what I wanted to do for the countertop, but for now we have gone with double thick OSB. So it's 2 layers of 18mm OSB that are glued together and then they're sanded down. That is then mounted to the top of the cabinets. So just screwed through from the bottom to hold it all in place. And with that, the cabinets were pretty much finished. Right. Okay, I think I'm happy enough to call that done. Sides are on, drawers are in, cupboards are in, shelves in the cupboards, quickly filling up with tools. Worktop is on, sand it down as best as I can get it for OSB. So I want to spend a little bit of extra time in it because the plan is to keep this natural. I don't want to paint it. The rest of the units will all be getting painted in the same colour as the shack. I want to keep the top natural, so I spent a bit of extra time sanding it just to smooth it down, and then I'm going to oil it just to protect it a little bit. So this is our next job. Obviously we have the lights run under here, so we're going to encase this in a shelf. It shouldn't be too difficult, and then we're going to move on to more storage on this wall. That leaves us with one wall left to do, that is this one. What's wrong, TJ? Why are you interrupting recording? There's one wall left to do, this one here. I have a vague idea what I want to do, but I don't know how it's going to work out. And that is, I want to use, so we're going to put the old rail up from the old shack, kind of waist level, and that's going to go for a cast iron hanging again. It's a good heavy duty rail, it'll hold plenty of weight. Then above it, I want to do my own pegboard, so not like a bought pegboard. It's going to be a chunky pegboard and use dowel rods pushed into it for hanging storage. Don't know how it's going to work out. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We'll just go on to something else. But I'm going to clear off this corner. I'll probably go down and get the rail, and we'll get it mounted first, or at least figure out where it's going to go, and then we'll see what kind of size we have left to do a pegboard. So I went down to the garage to find the things to hang my cast iron on. I find these old ones. These are ones we used to have planters hanging on, and then this one is the one that used to hang behind the Kamado Joe with all my tools on it. But I cannot find that cast iron one anywhere. I can find some of the hooks that were on it, but I thought it was in the box with all this stuff. Everything from the shack was took down and put into the one box, so it's vanished. Which now I'm thinking I might have left it in our old house. For now, we'll maybe use some of these. I'll put these up. Will still give us some hanging space. If I come across the other ones, I'll swap them over. But that means then our pegboard storage will be something like this. So it'll sit out from the wall a little bit just to give enough room for the dowels to push through the back of it. But I kind of need to lay that out, see if that's long enough to hang different stuff on, if that makes sense. So I've grabbed an assortment of stuff that I might put onto it. So this board is 52. I might want to go a little bit more. By the time I come down in a couple of inches, put the dial in, they're kind of touching the bottom of it. I don't really want them hanging off it. So if we have a board slightly deeper, and there's one that's almost 60, so that would, yeah, that would give us enough room. But the idea is I'll drill the board out, I'll make a grid. So things like this that don't necessarily take up a full hanging space, we can dial something else in and put something else smaller in here. We can also mount our thermopin holders to it, or they can go up here or there, or who knows, maybe we make some kind of dial arrangement to hold a thermopin. I just want the board laid out in a grid, and then we can plug in whatever we need to into it. I've temporarily clamped it up just to get everything level and figure out what way we're going to mount it. It is not centered on the wall. If I center it on the wall, it is going to drift away into this corner. And like I said, the barbecue is going to sit here, so I don't want to block it off in any way. So I have sort of nudged it to one side. There's nothing on this that's going to be overly precious, so there'll just be tools hanging. So I have it clamped up here. So we are going to get into this runner coming down, and then there's another post coming down here. So we should get a good strong bond on it. So I'm going to pre-drill through our blocks, and then I have big 100mm screws. I'm going to bore through everything into the wall. Then we're going to get some dowels cut up and see how it all works. Dare I say it, I believe that is all the organisational stuff and the woodwork building stuff done in the shack. Obviously everything needs stripped apart and painted, but everything has been sanded, everything has been fitted with shelves, drawers, everything we need. Bit of hanging space, still have to put the rails up, but that's not a big deal. That can be done pretty easy. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with the day's work. We're kind of on the last countdown now for the party. Slimmage is still a big problem, but the Creative Gardens delivery is due tomorrow, I believe. Yes, it is due tomorrow. So once it arrives, then it is all hands on deck to try and get this bank done, and then get the last finishing touches put on. I want to leave myself a couple of days to kind of get everything finished off and tidied up. The best laid plans always go to waste. If I aim to finish on a specific day, you can be pretty much guaranteed that it is going to take 3 to 4 days longer. We still have this whole shack to paint and the exterior, so I need it to be well dried out before I can paint it. Yeah, there is a lot to do, but I'll be in big trouble if this garden isn't ready for the party. Today is Creative Gardens delivery day, which is kind of exciting because that means we're getting towards the end of it. That has been a long month, but I'm so happy to say it's finally done.